All right. Hello. Welcome. Okay. So, what we were going to talk about today, with the course, I want to kind of explain to you all just little bits and pieces. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much of what we're going to be doing. And also, what I want to do is be able to answer any questions that you have about the course, right? So, first, I'll just go through some points of things that we're going to learn. And then, and the way that I've sort of set it up a little bit for you all. And then you can ask questions and we'll go from there. And this particular recording will go up. So it'll go up on the course website, and then everyone can watch it that couldn't make it. So hi to everyone who couldn't make it. So yeah, all right. So away we go. So obviously on the 31st is when the course will open for week 1. So this is when you'll be able to start accessing all of your work. If you're overseas, so Karen should be like 8 hours ahead of me. So you may have to wait till I wake up in the morning and actually unload everything. But yeah, so this is when you'll be able to start. There'll be about between 2 and 4 lessons for each week. There's going to be no testing on it or anything like that. This is up to you to go at your own pace. Okay, but to put everything into practice as you're going through. And what I'm doing is pretty much at the end of each week giving you a little exercise to practice for that week, or a little spread to do, or something so you can feel like you're doing the cards, if that makes sense, rather than just waiting till you get to the end of the course and, okay, now I'm going to do my cards. So you'll have little things that you can do. The lessons will sort of be set out so that you won't be able to just skip to the next one. It will actually, on the Teachable website, it will actually make you finish each lesson before you move on. So I think you have to finish 90% of the lesson before you're able to see the next one, and it will unlock. Now, if anyone's having any trouble with unlocking the course, not being able to see something, put everything in Telegram, because you'll find that most of you or me will be able to help you get through that. Some of you who have done courses with me before know how all the whole thing works. So what you can see as a student is different to what I can see as someone writing it. So yeah, okay. So the lessons will be done before the next one begins. The meanings and spreads that there will be for you all to practice. I'm taking you through the entire deck at the same time as trying to teach you a way in which you can kind of memorize things in your own way, and also ways in which you can look at the cards in a different way. And also there'll be around 35 focus points per card. And that's just on the top of my head kind of thing of what I could think of at the time, but there's more than that. And you'll understand what that means as we're going through. So the 35 focus points are for you and your study as you're going through. So I'm not going to take you through 35 focus points on every single card, because we will just never get this finished. But you're going to have this as promptings for your journal work as well. So you'll write down the card. I'll talk to you about the card, how to use the card, where it might come up, all things that I can tell you about. But then you'll have all these focus points that you will then write in, because the idea of this is that you're writing in your own book. By the time you're finished this course, you will have a huge fat book. You want to leave probably about 3 or 4 pages per card. So make sure that you have a big fat journal and it's best to write it, because when you write it, you won't forget it as easily. If you're just typing it all, it won't sit. So try to write them. We will also, as I said, we'll be doing an activation to increase your psychic energy, and you'll need to use this every time you're going to go anywhere near your cards. And of course, I've got bits and pieces of information about shuffling, cleansing the cards, different ways in which you can connect yourself in with them. But a lot of it is up to you as well. So this is not a do what I do or nothing else. It's kind of like, here's some ideas. What do you think about them? So this is the best way I found to learn, is when someone leaves that next part up to me, and then I can make it whatever I want it to be. The next thing is like, you will have to, this is not something where, okay, we'll do the activation. Okay, here's all the information and now I've got it. Like, I'm done. I'm ready to go. You're going to have to practice a lot. And I will always be saying that and reminding you of that as you're going through it. I'm going to be like, okay, you got to practice, you got to practice, you got to practice, because that was all I did. So I know that that's what works. And that's what brings you into a comfort zone. That's what brings you into being able to flow those words. So, you know, when you watch me do a reading or something, I'm just like, the words are just flowing out. It's like, how is she doing this? And it's just practice. It's all I can say. You know, speaking out loud, even when nobody is in the room, pretending I have clients, because that's what I used to do when I was young. Obviously, I didn't have any clients back in the day. I just used to pretend that, you know, what would I say? Oh, someone's coming with this problem. What am I going to say to them? You know, oh my God, what if they ask me this? So I kind of know everything that could possibly come up, and also how to go around it. There is spiritual etiquette that is definitely involved in card readings that a lot of people don't do, right? So the do's and the don'ts of doing a reading with someone, what they can and can't ask you, what's ethical, you know, when someone asks you if they're going to have a baby or if they're fertile, you can't answer those questions, right? You can answer them. So in other words, it's not that you can't get the information, you just shouldn't, because that's not part of your soul contract. And if you're wrong, there's a whole lot of trouble waiting for you. So what you want to do is you want to be in a place where you can do a reading and it's nice and free and open. You're giving advice and guidance only about anything they ask you. However, there are certain things that you're just not going to do. And when you tell someone, hey, I'm not going to tell you when you're going to die. I'm not going to tell you how many kids you're going to have. I'm not going to tell you when you're going to be pregnant. And I'm not going to tell you what health problems you have either. When you say those things to people, they're like, oh, okay. And they'll just ask you in a different way. And that's fine, you know. So there are a lot about spiritual etiquette. You must always shuffle your cards or spread your cards out in front of your clients as well, even if you're doing those things, even if you're doing things in person or online. Make sure they can see what you're doing, you know. There's nothing worse than someone already having cards laid out on a table and they're like, oh wow, I've got this amazing reading for you. And it's like, well, you've just sat there working out the reading for us, you know, and how do we know? Like, how do we know this is ours? It's not on the spot. So there are things like this that are warning signs along the way, and things that I'm not going to, I'm not going to advocate those things. I'm going to make sure that, you know, the spiritual etiquette is always kept. However, I will be teaching you, what's that? Someone say something? Oh, is it dog? Okay. But I will be teaching you some things that are a little taboo. Okay. How do I explain that? There are certain sequences when you're looking at a tarot reading which indicate things that are negative in nature. For example, car accidents, violence, someone who is in a domestic violence situation, someone who is a big drinker, or someone who's being abused by a narcissist, or, you know, that there's going to be some kind of bad, you know, accident or whatever. My position with that is that, as hard as it is, I can see these things that might come up sometimes in a reading, and all I can do is caution people to be careful without really telling them, oh my God, I can see a car accident, you know, this is really bad. You don't want to do those sorts of things to people and freak them out. But you can say, hey, maybe you just need to be a little more careful when you're out and about, or you know, maybe you need to pay attention to this, or maybe pay attention to your intuition. Maybe, you know, in other words, making it positive, even if you see something negative in the reading, because it can also be when there's something that's negative that comes up in the reading, it can also be that the person that you're actually working with is kind of in a bad mood. Like their moods and everything will come across in the readings as well. So you can't, you know what I mean? So you don't want to be second guessing what anyone's doing or what any situation is coming up, because psychologically you're tuned into them as well as spiritually. And that was something that came, you know, that understanding of the psychology came probably about 10 years after I was doing readings, you know, when I was younger, and thinking, hang on a minute, this is showing me what people are actually going through mentally, right? And not always on the surface as it used to be. In deeper types of divination and the old types of divination, I mean, people were really asking you stuff. When am I going to die? What's going on? Is this person cheating on me? What's happening? And unfortunately, people who do readings are all given that same label of being someone that you go to when everything's going wrong, right? And let me find out the dirt on somebody. Let's see what this psychic says, right? And so we don't want to be like that, but we want to learn how to be able to see something in the cards and relay it gently to our clients so that they understand it on a deeper level, but they make their own decisions, right? But we don't want to kind of make decisions for them either. So the spiritual etiquette is something that I will most likely go over for the entire 6 weeks. You'll hear it come up with certain situations, and then you're like, okay, now I know what to do. Great, right? If this comes up, I can deal with it. Right, so the other thing is about speaking and setting up, like, so speaking for the reading, I tell you what, this is the thing that most people are like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to speak for people? How am I going to make it flow? What if I get it wrong? What if this happens, you know? So a lot of the time through this course, you will be learning, like, I mean, I can't make you do it exactly how I do it or sound like me or whatever, but you will feel confident in how you do it and how it comes across, and you're going to stand behind it. So one of the things that the light leaders themselves have learned is how to stand behind their work. Like, this is how it is. This is what we're doing. And that's the end of the story. The same thing will happen with your readings, is that you're going to have to stand behind everything that you say. You can't falter and say, okay, well, let me check it again, because otherwise the other person is controlling your reading and you've lost it. You've lost the reading now. It's now become them being in control of you, and you doing everything you can out of your nerves to try to stop, you know, to try to make it right for this person, to try to make it sound good. Do you know what I'm saying? Like this, you have to be very, very much, no, this is the reading, this is how it is, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait a few weeks, we'll come back and we'll have a look at it again, see what's changed, you know? So a lot of people will do that in their anxiety. Again, these are things that you'll be able to pick up. But the idea for this course is to get you very confident so that there's no nonsense and you're completely and utterly in control 100%. And you're also at least 85% accurate, right? So if not 100% most of the time, okay, depending on what decisions that they make, but you're going to be at least 85% accurate with everything that you're doing. And if you follow with the structure, it'll be so much easier for you as well. And all of a sudden, an hour will be up, you know, and you'll be like, wow, I've been talking for an hour. Or, you know, if you happen to do things in person where you only have 15 minutes, I used to do a lot of those fairs and things like that. And you have like 15 minutes and the next person and the next person and the next person. And you've got to just quickly get out everything that they're asking you and answer it and be done. Next, done. Next, without a shadow of a doubt. And so people say, well, it's okay for you, Becky, you know, because you can do that. But I didn't just know how to do that. You know, I had to set myself my boundaries, understand what I was doing, like standing firm in, you know, my connection with the divine, and not letting anyone bully me around in a reading, because you'll be surprised. Like, you wouldn't think so. You'd think people would just be like, oh, I'm excited. But sometimes people are just really, really quite, you know, adamant and quite controlling with their reading, right? So you're going to learn a lot of different tactics and ways of speaking, and it's going to help you to build your confidence, which is the most important thing with doing readings. And if you're not doing them for somebody else and you're just doing them for yourself, even that will become much, much bigger process for you. Much more information will start coming through. And then eventually you'll get to a point where you're ready, you know, okay, yeah, I'll do a reading for you, and you'll be able to do them for others. You'll be able to do them live. You'll be able to do them without cards. You know, you'll just be able to do it. And it's because you're standing very, very firm in what you believe and how you're going to do it. You know, you've got those boundaries already set. So the speaking, setting things up will be covered in the course, which will give you more confidence, of course. You'll be sort of practicing daily, as I said to you before. You'll have a little exercise to do every day. I think you're going to like that one. I won't give that away now, but you'll be able to do this little practice every day. And this in itself will really increase your knowledge of the cards and how they connect in different situations, and also making a connection with them connected to you personally. Because once they connect with you personally, like your cards connect with you, they will never fail you. I'm telling you. They will come through, but they'll also tell you when you're being a jerk. They will tell you when you're not, you know what I mean? Like, they will tell you when you're not in the right mode, that you shouldn't be doing readings, because you'll just get all these nonsense cards and it won't make any sense. You know, they will help to protect you along the way on your journey as well. One of the things that I also make sure that I tell you in this course, but it is up to you, but I tell you not to let anybody else ever touch your cards. In the beginning, I used to hold my cards out and I would let people pick them, thinking, okay, they're choosing them themselves. But it used to really clutter my cards, and my cards didn't like it, and it took a long time to clear them. And you could feel like you were bringing someone home with you, you know? You could feel this heavy energy of the person that was there before. And if you're doing a lot of readings and they're all grabbing the cards, it's just not a good idea. I mean, that part of it is totally up to you, but you really should maintain control of your cards all the time, and nobody else is able to touch them. Other than this will make them even more powerful as well. And the tarot journey, we will be going over, as I said, every single card in the deck. We will go over them and also have focus points that you will then be able to remember up here as needed. And I will be teaching you a different journey of the cards and how to think of it, and also ways to fill in the different gaps, because there's plenty of gaps between these cards as well. So we will go through that. And also, besides that, you'll just be able to, there'll be some downloads at the end of the course for you. There will also be a recorded version, rather than just a video version. I believe I can give you a recorded version of every lesson as well. So when you get to the end, you can just listen to the recordings as needed, if you want to. There'll be some resources for you right at the end of the course. I don't want them to come in at the beginning of the course, because I really want that to be a bonus for you at the end, and also something where you've already got this really strong understanding of the course, the cards, everything. And then here's these bonus materials at the end that you can use whenever you want to, and they'll be kind of set up as, some of them will be PDFs and some of them will just be downloads that you can just copy. But yeah, oh, hang on just one second. The as I said to you, the course itself It's fairly intensive. I will just make sure I've just lost my page here just a second. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm just going to leave it over to you. Who, if any of you have some questions for me, away we go. I've probably covered everything, haven't I? Oh, well, I try. All right, have you got any questions at all? Karen, maybe we'll start with you. I know you've got to go soon.
Okay, yeah, because my Wi-Fi is going off all the night, so at 11, I think. So
It's getting late.
Yeah, it's getting late already. When you talked just now that the cards, you can't let them touch by other people.
Yeah.
And I have all kind of cards, and a lot of people come into my practice and always touch them. So I have to clean them, I think. And how is the best way to do that? With sage or another way, or with selenite? I have selenite.
Selenites are fine. Sage is good. And, you know, the thing is it's up to you. If you're used to people coming and touching all of your cards and you don't mind that, then that's fine. If that's how you like to do it. I've just found that, you know, I did it both ways. So I did it both ways. I did it with everybody touching them and then without. And all I can tell you is when they weren't touching my cards, they were powerful. Okay. It was absolutely different. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's up to you. But just sage them, bring the angels in on them.
Okay.
And clear them that way. Yep.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, you're really good at doing this anyway, Karen. So you're good at this.
Okay. I know, but
you can
there's
always learn
always
something.
more to learn.
Absolutely.
And now, especially, it's English in English, so for me, it's harder.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, but you'll be you'll be doing them in English soon. You'll be doing your card readings in English, won't you?
Yeah, I'm going to try. Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine. You can speak really well.
Thank you.
Plus you're funny as well, so everyone will laugh. We don't mean funny, weird, funny, humorous.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. But if you have to go, that's fine. You can go, and you'll be able to watch this. This will be put
later.
Up. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So who would like to ask a question next?
You just answered what I was going to ask about having people touch the cards. That was important.
Yeah. So as I said, all I can say to you is I know the difference when they're not touched versus when they are touched. And it was so different for me because I just thought that's what you did. You just, hey, you choose your cards. It's your reading. You know what I mean? But it ended up being so much more powerful and more connected to the way that I read without anyone else's energy on them.
Yeah.
So you'll find that too, like, especially when you get a new deck and, you know, like for some of you, you've just got the Tarot Grand Lux for the first time. You know, hopefully nobody's touched those and you'll find that they will
I cleansed them already. When I took them out,
I
cleansed them. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Those decks by Cairo Marchetti have the same kind of pictures and themes throughout them. I don't know if you've seen like, for example, these ones. I'll try to show you. Hang on. So these are the Tarot of Dreams. So you see how they have it's the same artist. So he does, you know, he or she, I'm not sure if it's a he or she, but the pictures are the same. I've got my my Grand Lux is set. You'll see when you start the course. I have it set up and all disconnected right now. It's like set up in all the pages and all the queens and all of this and all of that is all together. So I can't show you, but there's those ones. And also later on, like at another time, we'll do the Lenormand. And these are the Cairo Marchetti Lenormand cards as well, the gilded Lenormand. See how they're so pretty and bright? Like you can really see, yeah, there they are. Yep. You can really, to me, the brighter the picture, the more you just sort of like tune right in on it.
Yeah, I love them.
Aren't they great? Yeah.
Yeah.
So later on we'll do those. And he also has the Kipper cards as well. Have you got those ones?
No, no.
Yeah, these ones are beautiful also. Of course, I haven't got them in front of me right now. I've only got the book here. But again, Kip is very much like Lenormand, but not exactly. So that'll be another course that I'll try to wrangle for you all. I tell you what, it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be to do this for you all. Yeah, so what else was I going to say? What you'll do is some people have chosen the Rider-Waite deck as well because everybody knows the Rider-Waite. For me, I don't have an actual deck of Rider-Waite. I have something that's kind of like a copy of it, if that makes sense.
That's my starter deck.
Right, yeah. So most people will start on that deck. So what you will find is if you're doing readings for people, they are very familiar with that deck, and to the point where a lot of them are readers themselves. So they'll just go, oh, that means that, and that means that, and that means this, and that means that. So another reason to find very different types of decks to confuse your client so they're not looking over your shoulder and telling you what the reading is. You'll be surprised how they do that. I'm like, what are you doing? But this is my reading for you. But you know, what I've found also is that along this journey, you'll have people who have sticklers, absolute sticklers for the book. They want you to read only from the book. And that is just not the way that I'm going to do it. Like, we are rebels as far as I'm concerned, and we're going to do it our own way. And if you do that, like have a knowledge of the book, you know, you have an understanding of what the cards are going to actually mean, but you're putting it in your own way. This is what makes you unique. This is what makes you stand out. Someone said, oh, so you're just making it up as you go along. You know, if you're not following the books, like, no, you're using your intuition, you know. Right. And if you were making something up, let's just say, for example, okay, I'm just making it up because I don't know what the hell this card means, so I'm just making it up. If you're making it up and it actually comes out and it's awesome, who cares, right? You win. You know what I'm saying? So there are people that do things in certain ways in this. I used to think to myself, you know, you're having a reading, you should be excited. This is fun. You know, let's just see what comes out. Like, let's just have fun with it. And the client will be like, oh, but I'm so stressed and this is going on and this, and you can, you know, feel the scattered energy. And sometimes also a very dominant energy will come at you. And if you're the type of person that's just trying to please everybody and you're like, you don't want to upset anyone and, you know, you're trying not to do anything wrong, you're going to start overthinking the whole thing and just about run around in tears, you know, because you're like, this is too much. So hopefully through this course, you will find ways to stand your ground really well, no matter who is asking, no matter what they're asking and how they're behaving, that you'll be able to just control the whole thing. And in reality, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to own everything that you say and stand behind it like 1,000%, because if you don't, nobody else will. And if you don't stand behind what you're saying, that person will just go word of mouth, talking to everybody, telling them that it was terrible or whatever. And then you're going to feel even worse. You know, you're going to be crying if you hear that kind of a feedback, right? So if you follow this and if you practice this really well, and if you really integrate this into your everyday life and just say, okay, I'm going to pull some cards today. This is my cards for the day. These are my messages. You know, and if you really put the practice in for yourself as well and start journaling these things out, oh my God, you're going to be amazing. You know, you'll look back at this and say, wow, I can't believe I used to be this way. Now I know all this, you know, so it's going to be really interesting. I mean, each person does it in their own way, but I've been there. Like, I know what it's like, so I'll be able to help you for sure. Okay. All right, Sindra, do you have a question?
I don't know. I'm taking it all in.
Oh, good. Awesome. Kathy, you got one?
No questions. I want to learn a lot.
Okay, well, you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Stella, what you got?
No question. I just wanted to, I have many tarots. I'm kind of obsessed. And I have challenging choose the one I want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it makes learning a little bit more difficult because as I'm very visual, the images may tell me something different and
Absolutely.
I get confused.
Yep.
Because I said, so should I choose one or after the course, I may have more understanding of the cards.
Yeah.
Depending on which one, they do have their own language.
Absolutely. They all have their own feel, language, and story.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing for this course is just to recommend that you use 3 for the course, just 3 decks, any 3 decks. I did recommend the Grand Lux Tarot, so you'll see me using that. I have a copy which is not really the Rider-Waite, but it kind of is the same kind of pictures. I'm using that. And my 3rd deck is my Mythic Tarot. So, the really old
Which one is it?
Mythic Tarot. Yeah. That's the one that I've had for like 32 years. That's my original.
Can you type it? Sorry.
Yep. If I can. Let me see. Where do I go to with that?
I was trying to choose 3, but it's so challenging. I like so many.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have the Grand Lux too. And
why can't I type my thing? Hang on a sec. No, I've got no chat box. Oh, here's something. Show chat previews. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, Mythic. Yeah. Mythic Tarot.
Mythic. Okay.
Yep. Mythic. By Juliet Sharman Burke.
Okay.
Yep, I'll just write that in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Burke. Yep, that one.
Okay, thank you.
And the reason why I'm showing you that card and doing those ones is because this is how I learned using those. And remember I was given this deck when I was in Queens in New York, and that was someone saw something in me, I guess. And that's how it all began. And that deck, I am telling you, it's been around the world with me a few times, over to the UK, over to from America, over to Australia, from Australia, back over to America, from America, back to Australia, from Australia, back to America again. Everywhere I've been, that deck's usually with me. And at one point, I always count my cards, right? So that's another thing that I tell you to do before you get started, is to make sure you've got a full deck right up here and also here. Right, so you got the 78 cards. And so one day I'm counting and I'm like, there's 70, there's only 70. And I started to, like I'm counting again. I'm like, where could my cards be? And there was 8 missing. And from this.
Wow.
Now it took me about 2 years before I ever found them. And I found them in a car that I had in my garage. That was my first car that I learned how to drive in and all that sort of stuff. And I had it put in my garage and they were in the gloved compartment, the 8 cards. How does that happen? So for a couple of years, I couldn't use that deck because there was cards missing. And I'm like, how? And they walked. They left, so this sort of thing, it's going to blow your mind, but they will leave. They will walk. They will move. Your cards will move, and you're just going to be blown away. Like
what cards were missing?
I don't
Last
remember
week
now.
I was missing also one.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't like, the Hanged Man or the Tower. It was
Oh
just
no, I'm
random
not
cards.
sure exactly which ones were missing now. That would have been something to look at. Like I can't remember.
That's a very good question.
But
I
I'm
would
like,
want, from my deck, I want those cards missing. Gone.
yeah, missing.
Bye.
Okay, but hang on a minute. With the Hangman and the Death and the nasty ones like that.
And
Oh,
the Tower.
I'll show you a whole nother way to look at them. Okay.
Oh, good.
You're going to learn a lot about this. It's like a background sort of story, and you can find the stories of the tarot through all kinds of books and all kinds of decks, but I want to show you a different way to look at it. So I'm going to show you my story of the tarot and also the archetypes. So you've got the Jungian archetypes, you know, so the way in which each card is related to a part of the psyche, the shadow self as well. And we want to look at those things because, as I said to you, when I was very young and learning about the cards and I didn't have anyone to talk to and there was no internet, and you know, like something like the 9 or the 10 of swords would come out, and they're very scary cards in the mythic tarot. They are really scary because you're talking about Medusas, you know, snakes and stuff, and I'm like, you know, I'd be even more frightened. I'm like, oh my god, right? So I had to read the story, and I never wanted to look at the book. And when I read the story about it, I'm like, oh my god, this is bringing up in me something that I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of finishing, or I'm afraid of beginning something, or I'm afraid of what someone else's opinion is of me, and this is defeating me. Like, this is making me absolutely exhausted. And I knew I had felt exhausted, and I knew I'd felt scared and oppressed, you know, like I had no confidence and things like that when I was younger. So when I used to look at these cards and they started to speak to me in a way of guiding me with mental health and, you know, psychologically, I was, it was like light bulbs turned on, and I'm like, oh my god, this is what people need rather than fortune telling. Is they need someone to give an answer as to why they feel the way that they feel, or, you know, why they're struggling in that way. And of course, through this particular process of looking at the cards, it brought me into healing. And if I hadn't have done it that way, I don't know whether I would have gone in pursuing, you know, healing, I guess. It would have been more fortune telling, divination types of stuff, because that's how everybody kind of starts. And that's what I was really good at. You know, cartomancy, reading your hands and all those sorts of things was something that was just a given. But when I started to really understand psychology, and that only came because I was in a bad situation, you know, in a bad situation with my my oldest son, Corey, and my middle son, Joshy. Their dad was completely cray-cray, right? And I only recognized the crazy, like someone with mental deterioration because of him, and also because of looking at the tarot and sort of understanding the psyche, and also looking at actual medications and seeing, you know, what the symptoms were of someone who's crazy. You know, what are the symptoms? And this combined with everything else brought healing into the tarot and brought more confidence for me and ways of looking at the cards that were so much bigger than what I ever knew even existed. So it was really really eye-opening. Like, I was much like you, Kathy, where I'd be like, oh, I don't want to look at the hangman. I don't want to look at the death card. I don't want to look at the 10 of swords. I don't want when they come up, I'm like, I don't want to do them. And I didn't want to do them when they were reversed, especially, right? Because sometimes it's worse, sometimes it's better when they're reversed. But yeah, so you'll be looking at each card with multiple different facets to it, and then you can choose what you feel you're most comfortable with. I guess that's the short answer. Should have said that first. But okay. Oh, sorry, Karen's going to bed. I'm staring at the camera because I know otherwise I'm just looking down. So I'm staring at the camera so I didn't see you saying goodbye. Thanks, Karen. All right. Okay, Debbie or anybody got any questions?
I can't think of.
All right, so let me ask you all a question, and then you can answer because this might help. What do you expect to learn from this? What do you want out of this? So you just let me know what you want out of it. What's the goal? You don't.
So I would love to learn to I mean, I believe the tarot is like a coaching from the divine. I
Yep.
see an incredible language with God, the divine, so we can receive information, we can be guided throughout our journey. Like the tarot has its own journey, we can be reflected in part of it, and so we know where to go. Sometimes we need guidance.
Yeah.
And so I would love to learn to use this divine, how can I say, tool to now I think about more. I'm not interested in giving a reading to other. Maybe in 20 years when I'm retired, I can develop this and be helpful to other people. I think it's more like for me now as a journey, my own journey, and then sharing with other people.
Yeah.
When it would be time. But yes, to feel confident. And reading it in a proper way.
Yeah.
Like a coaching tool.
Absolutely. So there are, I think most people want to be very confident in how they approach the cards, and if they were doing it for someone, that they would not be nervous at all. So I'm sure that all of you would be like, oh, I want to get past that barrier, you know, of feeling that little bit self-conscious once I start talking. This will help you to do that. To use it as a divine tool to help someone also with, in a sense, doing more spiritual work with them. So for example, if I'm doing 6 weeks mentoring with someone, I might use the cards to sort of tell me where to begin. Like I might pull out, you know what I mean? Like I might say, okay, this person has come forward and they want this and this and this and this, but where do I begin? They may want that, but where do I begin? Even though I kind of get to the point where I already know, it used to help me. So I would pull out one and I'd go, okay, that's related to this chakra. Oh, okay. Well, this is what's going on with them then, you know, and you would be able to sort of work it out as a plan as well. Also, I think what ends up taking place with doing these readings is I wanted everyone to do readings for me. Like when I was younger, it wasn't me. I didn't want to do readings. I want you to give me a reading. That's what I was like. I was like, you tell me, let's do the cards, okay? And it ended up being like, everyone's like, you do the cards, Becky. And I'd be like, I want you to do the cards, you know? I wanted to be the one that just sat there and did nothing. But it ended up being that as much as I wanted them for myself, it ended up being about everybody else, right? Over all of these years, and doing all of these readings for others when I didn't really want to do that. That was not what I wanted to do. So it's funny how you think you're going to go, okay, I'm going to do this and then I'll do it later. You may be bombarded with it as soon as you get started because the angels and source has a way of just putting it in front of you and making you do it. Right? So I'm like, because when I was younger, and you all know my story, I had a very bad, you know, speech problem as well. So I stutter and I used to get embarrassed really easily, which I found out wasn't really embarrassment. It was more, I could tell that the person needed healing and this healing was coming through me. And of course, I didn't know that that's what was going on. So it was just embarrassment to me. It's like, I'm dying here. You know, everyone's going to know this. How am I going to speak? And I kept getting these people or situations or problems or whatever laid upon me until I finally just gave in and thought, you know, I'm just going to have to own this. I'm just going to have to own this. Otherwise, I'm never going to get over this hump of what people think of me. I'm just always going to be worried about what people think of me. And that's going to be what I'm known for. And obviously, that's not what I wanted, right? So sometimes this is going to be thrown in your lap. And it's funny to me how I don't tell anybody in the room, nobody in the room, what I do. Somehow they tend to know, right? I could be at the shopping center and old ladies will just come right up and you can tell that they can tell who I am, you know, not me, BDevine, but they can tell there's something spiritual there. So they will sort of come near me, you know, or want to talk to me, or everyone in the group will come and talk to me. and I guess they feel comfortable, but I think intuitively they know, oh, this person may give me some advice, or this person's got something, and that's what you all have that, where people feel comfortable around you. So it's going to come out. You can't hide this. People are going to know that you're in tune, like they just know. And so what I'm saying is, if you do this course and you really, really let it sink in, right? And you just say, okay, I don't understand that part. I'm going to go back over it. I am going to practice this every day. What else have I got to do? I can at least do 5 minutes in the day for myself, just looking at these cards. And you're going to practice and you're going to practice, and it's going to sink in, and suddenly you're ready. And it's just there. The words that you need, you're channeling it through, you know what to say, you've got it set up. This is how the start of the reading will go, the middle, and I'm wrapping it up. There's the end. This is a 15-minute, this is a 30-minute, this is a 1 hour, this is a 2 hour, and you'll end up just very, very easily just flowing, and all of a sudden the time's up. So yeah, as much as people think, oh, I just want to know this, and 20 years from now I can do it because I'm retired. It's not going to work that way. Stella, they're going to come for you. Like, I want a reading with her, and you're going to be like, how did you know this? Oh, it's just gonna happen. So
Hopefully we'll be ready.
you'll be ready. See, one thing is that you know that you're connected in with your light team, right? You know you're connected in, and you know you're connected in with source. And before you begin this course, I'm teaching you a new declaration just for readings. So this one opens up your psychic abilities, right?
Wow.
And so it'll be different than a regular declaration. But what will happen is if you know that you're protected and connected and aligned and supported, and you know that, then how can you get anything wrong?
Right.
If you are thinking that you're getting it wrong, then you're thinking too much. See? So you don't want to sabotage yourself before you've even started.
Right.
Yeah, and if you sit there and you're just like, this is the reading, and as I said, you stand behind it, no matter what it sounds like. As I've said to you before, I've done readings for people, and the most random thing will come into my mind, and I'll have to say it. Kathy knows I did her hand reading for her, and I had to say this one random thing, and she's like, I've got to think about this. Like it just was like, oh my God, she was like, how, she's probably thinking, how did you know? But it's a trusting thing, right? A trusting completely. And if you can't do that, then you need to wait until you can. And then you'll just do it. And it will all come out of your mouth. Archangel Michael said to me, you're not even doing the readings, Becky. I'm like, well, who's doing? Okay, you're doing the readings. Okay. I'm like, I'm just saying what you're saying. And it just took the pressure right off.
Right.
Okay? Yeah.
Right.
Amazing. Yep. You can't go wrong. You can only go wrong when you second guess yourself, doubt yourself, reshuffle, redo. That's you all doubting yourself. If you leave it how it is and finish the reading, it's done, and it's going to be perfectly beautiful for the person. And if you don't, like I said, if you go through your life worried about saying the right thing, I mean, I still sometimes do it to this day. I'll do a reading on YouTube, and it'll be a big long one, I'm talking away or whatever, and I just put it up. I don't edit it. It's just how it is, right? But afterwards, sometimes I'm like, should I have said that? Like, oh my God. Like sometimes, me, as in just a normal person, it's like, oh, maybe I said too much, but I never change it anyway. I'm always like, no, that's what was supposed to be said at that time. And now you're just feeling a little bit weird about it because it was so powerful when it was coming out. So you're feeling a little strange. You don't want people not to like you, and that's going to be one of your hardest things. It's not about the reading. You actually don't want them to like, to not like you. And I had to admit that to myself too. I'm like, I just want people to like me. Who doesn't? You want people to like, you want people to be happy with you. but you can't do it to a point where you're disconnecting from source to please somebody else. This is the message, that's how you give it, and that's the end of it. And then you know that even if it feels weird to you, that doesn't matter, because the message was given. And I'll also teach you in this course a lot about timing, because sometimes a message will come out and you'll be like, well, this hasn't come out. Like someone might say to me, oh, it's been 4 weeks and it hasn't happened. And I'm like, well, divine timing, you're going to have to wait. Like it will come when it's supposed to. And you'll start to learn like when that is, right? So, it might be 2 days, it might be 2 weeks, it might be 2 years, but you'll start to learn when that is. And also that they have choices that also can change the outcomes as well of the readings. You might tell them to go get a lottery ticket, but they've got to walk out the door. They may not get out the door, and that's not your fault. You told them go get it. Right? So there's a lot of trial and error with readings as well. But if you only think of the error all of the time, you're missing out. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, you're going to love this. So I've thought of everything. Like I know how it feels, obviously. Like I know how it feels to sort of sit there and just be in yourself a little bit. Like the first time that I had to do a show, like a psychic fair, I was like, oh my God. Like I was freaking out. And I don't know if I've told you that story before, but there was a group of girls that ended up doing a course together. We ended up doing this course together. And this was my second or third, I think, big show. Like, I mean, a big show. It was like a statewide thing. And it was in this section that I was with this group, and I was drawn to this person that was doing the wax, like wax art. I don't know if you've ever seen it. They use an iron. So you choose these colors and they use an iron and they just go like this. And then suddenly you've got this picture and he reads it for you, like he does a reading on it, right? And so he did this for me. And he said, what are you doing with this group over here? Like straight into my eyes. And I'm like, oh, I've come with this group. We did the class. And they're like, he was just like shaking his head, like, why am I with another group? Why aren't I by myself, doing my own thing? He said, oh, you're going to be far, out of this. You're just going to be far greater than this. Like, don't limit yourself to this group. I'm like, no, I'm just here with them because we all did the course together and I'm helping out. And, I didn't have any clue back then about Devine Miracles or any of this website stuff. So what he was saying to me was like, how am I going to be known? Like, who's going to know who I am? Do you know what I mean? But he could see it. And it's like that. I know what he means now because I can see it in each one of you, like where you're going to go, what you're going to do if you let yourself just go for it. But if you keep yourself just all, sort of like tight knit, then that's all you're ever going to have. And that's not really what you want, Another thing was Kathy was saying at one point, she was saying about, for example, channeling. She's like, I just want to know what this is, like I want to be able to do this. I want to, and it's like, well, okay, here's how you do it. And now just practice it. And she's like, oh my God, now I've got it. It wasn't even hard, it wasn't as hard as I thought. Like, in other words, she was expecting it to be a certain way. And it's not going to be how anybody else does it. It's going to be your way. And that's the same with these cards. So once you get all of this information sort of up your sleeve, and you've got it back here, then you make it your own. And that's what stands out. Yep. There you go. If I sold you on the course, you guys are already doing the course. But yeah, I think that you'll enjoy it. And as I said, it'll be broken down into between 2 and 4 lessons a week. So you're not going to be too overwhelmed, but at the same time, you're going to have to put that little bit of homework in for yourself. But I'm thinking to myself, I make about 15 videos every single day, plus everything else that goes on. And I'm thinking to myself, if I can do 15 and it's all on the spot and it's sort of here, then you guys can just do one for yourself, you know. And I'm there to help you also. So we'll have the Telegram group. I want you to practice in there with each other as well. You know, like, hey, does anyone want to have a reading today? Or maybe, you know, someone can do a card of the day or something like that. And everyone can sort of chime in on what they think about it. Because when you have the backup, as you know, you have support or a supportive group, you tend to just relax a little bit more. And you're like, okay, everybody's on the same wavelength here. Like there's no one thinking I'm strange or weird. You know, we're all weird and strange and we're all doing it together. But it's not, you know. But what's going to end up taking place, you know, we have the Light Leaders Academy and now we have some little courses that we can do as well, is that there will be people that find you because they're drawn into the positive, where there's a lot of people that find others because they're drawn into the negative, right? And you will see that. Unfortunately, I have to see a lot when I'm doing my work. But then when I'm finished my work for the day, I'm out. So if I come into the Light Leaders Academy or something, or if I come into Telegram, I'm in to do whatever message I do, and then I'm out. Like it's in and out, and you'll find that that's what you'll have to do. But when I've been doing TikToks, and that was a new thing for me because I could use those videos everywhere. So to me, it was like, okay, I do them here and they can spread everywhere. So that's great. I'm only doing it once. But you find in your feed and things, some really negative practices. And I'm like, oh my God. So this was another reason why I've put some of this into this course of what to look out for, what to avoid, and what never to do. Because those people that are doing those things probably won't be around in the future, you know, because too many people are waking up to what's real, you know, and what's not. And they don't want these negative, scary readings anymore. Remember, like in the 70s, in the 80s, 90s, you know, that kind of timeline, it was a lot about the seasons, you know, of becoming a witch or becoming darker in your art, and because it was more allowed. You know, people were more accepting of those things in a sense, and you know, dark magicians and all this kind of stuff, and it was like allowed, and so it came through the community of tarot, I guess you could say, where people were looking for more. Who's talking behind my back, or who's cheating on me, or who's doing this, and then these people would tune into it, right? They could be correct or whatever they are. And then they would offer the client, the person that's coming to them, oh, I'll do a spell for you and get rid of this. Oh, I'll hex this person, or I will, you know, I'll banish this. And we all know that that's none of our business. You know, the angels can take care of any kind of clearing, and the person needs to ask for it themselves, and they've got that power. But I found that when I was doing the tarot and beginning it and all of that, a lot of that spooky stuff was on a lot of people's minds. And so they see divination. Like if you say that you do readings, they think that you are someone who's really quite evil. And that is it was a hard thing for me to swallow, because I'm like, I'm not, it's just me, you know, like I'm not doing all that bad stuff, you know. But that's how they saw readers, because that's what was coming forth mostly in the media and things like that. You had the people with the crystal ball, and like, you know, like you had Mystic Meg and all this sort of stuff, which is fine. Use a crystal ball, but it has to be positive. Everything has to be positive, you know. And so a lot of this work went to people's heads. Where are all those beginners now? You don't really, you know what I mean? Like those people that sort of was doing things in the 80s, 70s, even the 60s and before that, really are nowhere now. If they are around, they're quite older. Whoops. But if they are around now, they are very unwell. So you can see that as well. So if you're looking at someone that's doing readings and they look very unwell, be careful, because they haven't been able to clear themselves. They don't know about protection. They haven't been doing it. And therefore, they're not going to protect you either, you know. I remember a long time ago, this lady, she used to do the cardamancy cards. So she would do just playing cards, that's it. And she was a Scottish lady. And it was back when you had a little tape recorder that you took with you and you pressed record when the reading started. People had little tape to listen to the reading. And she did mine. And I pretended like I knew nothing. I pretended I didn't ask her any questions. And I thought, I wonder, how she goes, right? And she did these cards, and I was like, oh, I'm trying not to look at the cards because otherwise I'm just guessing my own reading, And she was old, but then I found out that she's actually younger than I am now, but she looked like, I don't know, she looked like she was 80. I'm not kidding, old, right? And she looked at me square in the eyes, and she was doing this reading. She did me, and she did a few other girls. You know how you had a group, blah, blah, blah. And so she was looking at me square in the eyes. She told me nothing about me being who I am. She told me nothing about my spiritual path. And all she told me was how sick I was going to get, how people were going to die around me, how I had really bad negative energy around me and I needed to be really careful. And I've been cursed and my family's been cursed and, all these centuries of cursings. And, that people close to me were going to pass away, that I wasn't going to have a very close connection with my children. Like, it was like, oh my God. Like, none of it was accurate, but it was scary, like the way that she came across. And she came across very, like, she knew what she was doing, like with the cards. So I know when I left her, I was like scared, like my heart sank in and I'm like, oh my God, I'm really unwell. Like, I'm going to be really sick. Oh, my kids are going to hate me. Like, I'm going to have all these people die around me. Like, I was like a mess. And it was only, I probably stayed in that. I actually stayed very depressed and in this heavy, holding my heart. That's why I'm doing that. I was like holding my heart, freaking out for about a week. And finally, I'm like, you know what? I don't have to believe her if I don't want to. I don't have to believe her. And of course, I was a lot younger back then. And I was just like, it was like the first, like a big sort of epiphany of, I don't have to believe what other people tell me. I can make my own decisions and that will be my reality. And it was like, she scared the crap out of me. And I'm just wondering, throughout her life and whoever came in contact with her, like how many people were scared away and never did anything again or made things happen because they feared them into existence. Do you know what I mean? And I guess having these bad experiences and going through this and being scared of readings and being scared of doing the wrong thing and blah, 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 all these fears, that it helped me so much. If I didn't have those things to show me the wrong way, then I wouldn't have been able to develop the right way, and maybe you need that little bit. But these people that are still doing these horrendous stuff, I have to get rid of probably about 10 a week of people who are like, I can do a spell for you. And it's like, no, block. Like, I don't even give it any energy at all. It's just gone. They are so lost in trying to be this great master of, the occult. I don't know why or whatever, instead of just doing it to help people, And that's basically my story, is like, I can help myself. Therefore, if I can get the answers for myself, then I can help anybody else. That's what I was in it for, to help you, basically help yourself. That's the same across the board. But some people you're going to come across, and you will come across them if you're doing readings for others also, where they have been to another reader that has scared the crap out of them and they're afraid you're going to do the same thing. I don't know how many people like that have come forward. But so divination gets a bad name. You will get the Christians that'll go after you. You'll get people that, they will really attack, and they will call it witchcraft. They'll call it, that you're demonic or whatever. And you're going to have to learn to have a stiff sort of, outer coating, if that makes sense, because you're protected. And they're only reacting in that way, probably because they've had a bad experience, like I was talking about. Or there's a passage in the Bible that talks about mediums, and it talks about spiritualists and how both of those are damned to hell, basically. But, okay, so there's a little clause in there, and that is that the way in which mediumship was described in the Bible back then was somebody who conjured people from the dead, like actually up out of graves. That was considered a medium. So the way that we see a medium now is we're not doing anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But the word medium was people who conjured and whored over, they called it whoring over graves. So they would have, big sex orgies or whatever, and they would completely raise someone from the dead. And in other words, they'd be walking around, I don't know, like zombies perhaps. And, they talk about that as being an abomination. Of course it is. Like, can you imagine doing that? But then again, they talk about Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. So the way in which the Bible is written, I mean, there's so many different, versions of it. But when they talk about mediumship, that's actually, they don't realize that that's in the Bible, that particular passage. They're just going for us, people like us. They're not realizing that the way that it was, the meaning of it was completely different to what it is now. So not that I really care, but sometimes you're going to get people who are questioning you and why you do this. And you all know my story. My father was really religious. There was no way that he understood that what I was doing was helping people. He thought I was just making my way into heaven, to hell. I was never going to go to heaven, that I was leading people astray, that this is not to be done. So you don't talk to angels. You don't talk to God. Other people do that, not you. So it was very hard for me to try to explain to my dad what I do. I mean, I know that now he knows, and he's like, oh, I had no idea. But back then, he was just like, you're going to go to hell. Like, you're in a lot of trouble. And he would be praying over me and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, Dad, you misunderstanding what's going on here. People are drawn to what they don't know. So people are drawn to the cards. They really are. They want you to be able to help them. And I've helped pastors in churches and and their wives, and they're like, don't tell anybody. You know what I'm saying? Because they, it's a stigma, right? And I said, so if you use this tool that God has given the artists of the world, this tool that he has given to his people, if you're using it to help people, to heal, how can it possibly be bad? If God is working through all of your work, where does the demons come in? They're not going to come anywhere near Archangel Michael, I can tell you right now. So if I'm calling in Archangel Michael to protect me, why would demons come in disguise? Because that would mean the same thing as when you're praying, Dad. You pray to God. How do you know it's God? Oh, well, right? Different. So you really have to stand behind your art as well, doing this work. Is it a tool to make you special, or are you using it as a tool to help others? So if your priorities are in the right space, then no evil can be laced within it, and that's how I do everything. So you all know that by now. Right? Yeah. Yeah, so anything else anyone wants to learn in this course? Because if you do have something in particular that I haven't thought of that you want to learn, then tell me, because I will add it in. So but I think I've pretty much got everything I can think of you might have thought of as well. But like troubleshooting, I guess, someone who's really religious or someone who's really scared. As I told you before, I don't announce myself to anybody. They just, like, I met Sindra. She didn't know I did any of this work. I wasn't going to say, hey, you want a reading? Right? She didn't know till later. And then I think you found me or something doing readings or something, didn't you, Sindra?
Yeah, Bobby had mentioned that you were, what you did, spiritual.
Oh, so he let the cat out of the bag.
So I was like, yeah, I'm
Oh,
gonna,
cool. Awesome. So yeah, but it's not something that I would announce. And that means that
Right.
I'm not it's like you're not working, if that makes sense, until you're working. It's like I told you all before, it's like I'm not tuned on or turned on all day to tune into people all day because I would get exhausted. So, you know, you filter that energy. Okay, when I'm doing a reading, right, I'm tuned right in. Okay, I'm doing mediumship, I'm channeling right in. Oh, I'm teaching, I'm doing this right. But then I switch it all off and dissolve it, white light my room, and I leave everything in my room. And I go off and do my, you know, whatever else I'm doing, you know. So that is another thing also that will come up in your healing work, and it comes up in your tarot work, is people that tell you, oh God, well, I've just done readings today and I'm so tired. And you shouldn't be, you know. I've done readings all day as well. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do another, you know, 20 readings or something, because we're not doing it, you know. We're not doing it. We might appear that we're doing it and we're running it, but it's all coming through. Everything that they need to hear is coming out of your mouth all the time. And it doesn't mean like I don't have the problem of people saying to me, and I don't think I've ever really had this problem where someone said, no, that was completely wrong. You're completely wrong, 100% wrong. That has never happened. I know that it's happened to other people that I know or whatever, like, and they've just been like, oh, I don't want to do this work anymore. And all I can think to myself is, well, maybe you didn't trust yourself somewhere in there, you know, and that's why it's gone wrong. Because if ego comes into it, you're just making it up, and it's not very good, you know. But if you pull yourself in and you're channeling yourself into it, and you're not also trying, I guess the word is, you're not trying to do anything other than help the person. So then then all of the future stuff and all of your psychic abilities just come through because you're not trying to do it. So it's there. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like when you're trying to make something happen, it won't. But if you just relax, then suddenly all this stuff comes at you. It happens all of the time to us. So this will be the same when you're doing readings as well. And at first, all of this information for you, it seems like, oh my God, you know, how am I gonna, like, I still don't know how I'm gonna do it. Right? But you will by the time you get through the course as well. So, you know, remember, you just got to give yourself patience. Like I used to think, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? When's it going to happen? And also something else that occurred when I was doing readings when I was much younger was I'd be put on the spot. I'd be doing these readings. I'd take my little bag and do all these readings, right? And I'd be put on the spot by someone's shock. So, for example, I would tell them something, again, like I was telling Kathy, like I said something to her that was just like, how am I supposed to know that? And I would tell them something that I felt, and they would go white, like their whole face would turn white. Like, how did you know this? You know, this is only, I mean, I'm the only person that knows this, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, so they would just be like really scared, and they would say, are you reading my mind? And this is something that when you get a lot of hits, as they call it, where, you know, you can't help it. It's just coming out as correct. It's really accurate. This person will get frightened by that. And so that was one reason why I pulled away from doing palmistry and dominoes and dice and things like that, because they are very accurate. And I would tune in with the psychometry of touching someone's hand, etc. Right? And they would just be thinking, you're reading my mind. Like, and they used to be quite mean about it, you know, when I didn't know, I was just telling them what I felt, you know. So you're going to have to also understand how when something comes out and you're just like, I don't know where this is coming from, but I'm going to have to say it. And it's a vivid, very, very strong feeling and sensation. You're going to have to also say it and say, look, you know, this has nothing to do with mind reading. I really don't want to read your mind. Like, I don't want to go in there. It has nothing to do with this. This is a feeling that I'm getting. This is a sensation that I'm having. And you asked me for a reading, so therefore you're given permission for these visions to come in to help you, you know? And then the person will go, okay, all right. But before, when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, you know, should I not be doing these anymore? Like, I'm freaking people out. I don't mean to freak anybody out. Like, am I doing something wrong? You know, so I would start, you know, questioning myself. And those are the sorts of things that can come up for you because it's so darn accurate that even you are going to be blown away with some of the images that you receive. And some people you don't. Like some people you don't get anything, and they are, I'm telling you, they are blocking you, especially if they're sitting there like that. They sit there like that to get a reading. They don't want you to know anything. Nah, they are blocking you off. So I always make a joke and I'm like, well, if you keep doing that, we might as well just go home, you know? And they're like, what? I'm like, defending yourself like this, you know? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, this. Put your arms down. I'm not going to get into your head. I don't do that. And that comes from the fear of, you know, these other readers that they've had, or, you know, what they think it's going to be like, you know? So a lot of your work with the tarot is bigger than you thought it was, because you're dealing with people who are fearful in reality. And, you know, you've got to calm all that down. Part of that's going to be laughing and joking and being yourself, you know, like me kind of thing. But part of that is just, you know, and accepting yourself like how you are. Your personality has got to come through these readings. And the more relaxed you are, the more relaxed they are as well. So, yeah. Cool.
So when the lesson are going to be in the portal?
The 31st on Monday.
Monday.
Yeah. So on Monday, you'll be able to open week 1. And the way that I'm doing it this time is only opening it as the week comes about instead of leaving it all there. So every Monday for the next 6 weeks will be your messages. And then if you're looking on Telegram, I will let you know probably in 3 weeks when we have a midway sort of catch up. So this is our first sort of thing. And then halfway through, we'll catch up again and see how you're liking it and what questions you have then, and then right at the end at the 6 week mark as well. So should be fun. Yeah. All right. So anything else you can think of? Because some people are going to listen to this that you know, they might be on the fence about doing this course, or they might be just curious as to what's going on. So what questions would you ask about this, do you think? I mean, you've probably already asked enough. I know I go on and on. I don't mean to, but is there anything else you can think of?
I think to get over the fear of certain cards.
Yeah.
Like, there you go, you're missing cards. And I'm still back on those missing cards.
Yeah, I know. But that's telling you that's
Those cards were missing. Right. They were missing for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder, okay, why were they missing?
Mm-hmm.
What were the cards? Were they too frightening to see? Or it was information you just didn't need to know because it was irrelevant for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think when I think back on it, I don't think I was supposed, it was almost like I was supposed to stop doing what I was doing for those 2 years. And I had already been doing the cards for some time, but for some reason there was 2 years in my life where I pulled back, and I'm beginning to believe that it was because I didn't have my full deck with me, like that particular full cards. And maybe they were just, you know, also showing me that they have the ability, these cards, your deck of tarot cards has the ability
To do things.
to do things. Yep. To move away.
So if you don't have a full deck of cards,
Mm-hmm.
you're missing some cards.
Yep.
Can you still do a reading?
No, not with those cards.
Not with those cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you know, I could still do readings, but I couldn't use those cards. But those were my cards, you know. I was so distraught
So
that
you can't pull out certain cards and say, I don't like this card.
no, I know you want to do
I
that
don't
with the
wanna see it. I
hangman.
don't want to see it. No.
want to see the scary cards. No, you can't. So for it to be the fullness of the set and of the reading, it has to be the 78. There are some extended, so whatever your deck comes with is what it's got to stay with. They've all got to stay together. But when it comes, I'll tell you something, the Hangman and all the spooky sorts of cards that come out, what you'll find is they won't start coming forward until you start really understanding what they mean on a deeper level rather than on the surface. And once you do that, then you'll understand that, okay, this only means certain disasters or whatever, when there's a whole ton of other stuff that correlates with it, which is extremely rare. You know, I'm going to teach you those combinations, but still, you know, I didn't want to see the Death card when it came up. I never wanted to see that card. I never wanted to see the Three of Swords, especially. I never liked that. The 9 and the 10.
Right.
And the Hangman, like you, I was like, that spooks me out. Like, I don't want to see that. So I really actually didn't see it until I understood it. It very rarely came up unless and then when I did see it, I'm like, okay, they're showing me this for a reason. I've got to stop thinking of the worst, you know, and all these things would be going on inside of me. And then now when they come up, it's not anything to do with the traditional meanings of it at all. So I'll teach you all of that as well.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. And that's how your clients feel when they see that card come up. They freak out, you know, as well, because they don't understand it, or they're just thinking, oh, it's death. That means I'm going, you know. It's like when you do cartomancy for the playing cards, they have the Ace of Spades. And the Ace of Spades is basically like the death card, you know. And this, for some people, is lucky. You know, when they see the Ace of Spades, it's lucky when they think, but when I see it, I know, okay, there's going to be a death. It doesn't mean it's this person's death or whatever, but you're going to hear about it. So when I first started doing the cartomancy, I'd be like, but I don't want to hear about it. Why do I have to hear about this negativity? You know, I don't want to hear about it, but that's not the way. Life is not perfect.
No.
You know, and forewarn is forearmed. Sometimes you've got to be prepared, because then you can avoid, you know, you can avoid these things. So again, I'll show you. You'll be fine. But I do know what you mean. I mean, there are some card decks that when you see the Hangman, it's really quite pretty, you know, or you see the Death card, and maybe those cards are for you. Like, I think you have the Gilded.
Yes.
Yeah, you have the Gilded. So that's not so bad as some others. But
Right.
if you think of it as sacrifice, you know, that this person is, especially if you think of it as mythology, as Perseus, you know, in mythology, and he just sacrificed himself, and, you know, this eagle came and just was picking at his liver all of the time as punishment. You know, he was like, he could have got out at any time, and he didn't. He stayed there because he loved mankind, you know, and he wanted to help mankind. And so sometimes when I look at my card deck, I go back to these mythical stories, and I'm like, okay, there's always a sacrifice for a greater good. Or there's always something that happens over here, but it taught this person this much, you know? So when I see something negative come out, I know I can speak about it in a positive sense and maybe change the energy of it. And this helps someone in the back of their mind get through that problem when it comes up. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I learned to not being afraid about the negative cards, because I was looking to my past, and I noticed that we actually already experienced the tower, the death, throughout our life.
Oh,
And
thousands
looking
of
at
times.
my
Yeah.
own experience, those were actually the moment where big growth was following. So that was better opportunity after the tower, which I experienced the tower 6-7 months ago.
Yeah.
And so better opportunity were following. So it's actually a positive card, because it's moving something for a better direction.
And that's the other thing is, like, when you get the cards come up right away, like, so, you know, you'll get the Hangman or the Death or whatever, you're like, these people have already dealt with this, you know, like, this is, for the most part, they've already dealt with it, unless it's in a future position. But yeah, so it's coming up just to say you've already been through this. It's happening, or it's happening now, that this person is going through an intensive, stressful thing, and it's like alerting you to it as the reader, that they might need that extra sensitivity. But you know, when the cards come up and it comes up that way, as in like a negative read, one card after the other and after the other, you know, I found through my, you know, when I first used to see it, I'd be a little bit like, okay, like I'm gonna have to like really, you know, like, because it's in your face and it's right there, and this person can see it as well. Like, you can't lie about it. So the first thing I'd say is, look, you know, what we're doing is we're just taking a look at the things that are bothering you. Wow, you've got a lot of things that are bothering you today. I'm really glad this has come up, because now we're going to be able to get through it all. Now, isn't that nicer than, oh, shit, what are we doing here? Oh, here we go. It's all bad, you know. We don't want to be those kind of people, you know, but it's like, in other words, you'll learn the wording. You know, for me, it's like, okay, wow, we've got a lot to, you know, deal with right now. This is really good. It's come up. And then you can see them just go, okay, let's work through it. And they're like, this is not a reading I thought I was going to get. This is like healing. Yeah. You know, so that is the other thing, is that, you know, all of these readings are healing process. And
you teach us how we do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get alternate meanings from what we think we know. You're going to give us the right way to do it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, because I know how it feels. You know, I again, the fear factory of, you know, even just doing readings or picking up cards, there's this fear around it that people have of you being a witch. And, you know, to me, that was like, hang on, I don't want to have anything to do with being a witch, like, at all. That's a whole past life stuff, you know? So how do I get through this? And this is, you know, where the healing comes in, and the talking to source and the protection and that. It's like, okay, we can do this, but we can make anything positive. Archangel Michael told me that when I created domino angel cards. I said, how can this be positive? These domino meanings are kind of like negative. You can make anything positive, he said. So this is what we're doing, and we're changing the way that the readings are done, so that they are not going to be in that caliber of knocking people down like they used to be. You know, we're going to be bringing people up. So it's going to be awesome.
Good.
All right. So any last questions before we go? Because I don't want to keep you all too long, but it's been great seeing you. No, you'll probably think of it later.
Right.
Should have asked. But if you do think of something, we can just put it in the Telegram group. I will get this up on the page, and then on the 31st, I know Karen's 8 hours ahead of us, so she's going to be waiting at like midnight. So it may go up on Sunday night, so then you can just open it as you wake up in the morning, and away we go. And so this will be up there. And as I said, there'll also be some things that you download, but I'm going to leave that till the end, and you'll see why. Otherwise, you'll get yourself preoccupied with someone else's way of looking at the cards or whatever, and we want to do it in this way. And in this way, it's like, it's not really my way of looking at the cards. It's more prompting you to figure your way. You know what I'm saying? Although I am going to help you through everything, of course, but I want you to develop this method, and then you'll have mastery, because when you feel like confident, you'll be successful. And you have to find that little marker in your life, you know, where that is. Like, you may feel confident doing it in a certain way, but that gets old pretty quick. You know, but with you going, okay, I'm going to take a bit from here and here and here and all of this, and I'm going to take it all in and make it my own, it's going to be so much more powerful. So, and there are plenty of other courses online, like, you know, learn how to do the tarot, and it's just the same basic old story. And, you know, obviously I'm going to try to make it different than anything else you can find. And then you'll make it different, and the next person and the next person. So, yeah, change this world one card at a time. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
I'm looking forward to the course. Thank
Oh,
you.
good.
Me too.
Absolutely, me too. I'm looking forward to you going through it. And as I said, it was not as easy as I thought it was going to be for me to be able to teach you this. Like, I'm like, I sounded like a Wally right then. Like, this was really bad. I need to do it again. And I'm like, no, you're not doing it again. That's the lesson. So it was different because it's a teaching thing rather than just doing the readings, because I already learned how to do that. So, you know, teaching you is a little different. But oh, Debbie's going. Thanks, Debbie. But yeah, so thank you all for coming on a Saturday afternoon. And I better go rescue my husband now. I can hear those dogs.
Before we go,
Mhm.
one quick question.
Yes.
How is BB?
BB's okay. We would like to see her a little bit better. But she like I was saying at the beginning of this, she has quite a large incision, larger than what they thought they were going to have to do because her ovaries were high for some reason. So and she needs to be sedated for 2 weeks, and she's a husky with 4 other huskies, and 2 of them are her babies. It has been very challenging. I'll just put it that way. But now we think we have the dosage right with her sedation. So she has to be put like a strap, you know, she has to be harnessed up to go outside, to go to the potty and straight back inside. And so the others see the harness, they're like, we're going to the park, we're going to the park, this is awesome. It's like, no, we're not going to the park, we're just going to the backyard, stop. So yeah, it's been a challenge for sure. So it's hard we have to have someone there all of the time. So we were going to do our Halloween thing tomorrow, but we may not be able to, depending on how everyone's going upstairs. But thanks for
Well,
asking.
yeah, sending love on that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, no, she'll be all right. It's just the whole 2 weeks of stillness thing that threw us. We were like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, with a husky? No.
Almost impossible.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. But thank you so much for
Okay.
coming. All right. This
Thank you.
Yep. So if you miss anything, this will be up on the course anyway. But thanks for being here, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
Thank you.
See you soon. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Lots of
Bye,
love. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.